Star Raiders has a lot to answer for. I'm sure that's something which many game developers were thinking, as despite coming out in 1979, Doug Neubauer's Atari 8-bit classic certainly inspired many clones across many 8-bit platforms. But for the humble Commodore 64, the best of the bunch has no doubt got to be Synapse Software's 1984 release, Sentinel. Sentinel has you in the role of a lone star pilot, tasked with defending the planet Jawaloba from the Gorganitor threat. The Gorganitors are attacking en masse with their dangerous base stars and waves, after waves of gamma fighters, cruisers and saucers. Command is unable to send you reinforcements, and so you're more or less alone in holding things together, though thankfully they did send in a number of resupply bases. But we'll get to those later. Starting out, you'll first need to pick one of the difficulty options. This sets the number of enemies you'll be dealing with, but also the maximum number of shields your craft has. Then it's the briefing. This more or less recalls the setup. You're all alone, and there'll be bases warped in to repair and refuel as necessary. After that, the Galactic Map is brought on screen, and the mission begins. One thing here is that it's quite a cramped map, a 10x6 grid which is swarming with enemies to start with, especially on the harder difficulty levels. Your first objective here is really to prevent all 4 sectors surrounding the planet from being held by the enemy. Select one of those and then hit fire to warp there. Unlike other games, the duration of these warps varies according to the distance you need to travel. No instant jumps here. Making such a jump can be dangerous, as en route you'll have to make your way through an asteroid field. Unsurprisingly, colliding with any of them could cause problems, resulting in your shields being lost and a chunk of your energy being taken away. Now, you've got the ability to raise your shields by pressing fire, but this gobbles up your energy as well and is purely intended as a last-ditch resort, so you'll want to avoid using it as much as possible. When arriving in the target sector, your scanner will show blips indicating which squadrons are present, and pressing fire cycles through them. Pick one, center it on your scanner, and your craft will automatically lock onto the chosen squadron, and so the battle begins. This is kind of where the game falls a little flat, because you don't directly dogfight the enemy craft as you would in other games, but rather it's about moving your sights to line up the targets and blasting them. The enemy movement patterns here are kind of repetitive, as they'll just circle about the screen, occasionally zooming in and out. It really doesn't make for the kind of challenge which a game like this really needs. Your ship is armed with a pair of phaser cannons, but you've also got a set of proton helix charges, which are deployed by pressing space. Whilst they're primarily needed to attack the enemy base stars, you'll find them also handy in clearing out a squadron of fighters, cruisers, or saucers. When a squadron has been cleared out, you're allowed to pick the next to engage, and you'll dive in to engage it before repeating the sequence until all the squadrons in a sector are cleared. At that point, the sector map is brought up, and it's time to move to a new sector to carry on the fight. Unless you need repairs, of course. Then, instead of picking a squadron, you'll pick one of the blue spots on the map, which is one of the repair bases that were warped in. Once you drop out of warp, you'll need to navigate your way through the minefield to close in. Or simply blast any stray mines, of course. Once you've cleared the field, the base appears, and you'll commence docking proceedings. The docking sequence here is automatic, and you'll be given a nifty status readout on what is being fixed as your energy, shields and weapons get recharged. Now, whilst your primary objective is to focus on defending Jawaloba, you're going to eventually need to take the fight to the enemy in order to achieve it. And this specifically means you will have to take on the orange base stars. Approaching them is similar to approaching a resupply base, as you'll need to navigate the minefield in order to take them on. The challenge on the harder difficulty levels is that you need to synchronize your attack run, as these base stars will periodically appear and disappear from the view. Once you're through the minefield, taking them out thankfully is nothing more than flinging a proton helix charge or two their way. And then you're done, well, in theory. There are 4 of them which need to be taken out, and as well on the harder levels, they're going to continually launch squadrons into play as the game progresses. Regardless of whether your mission is a success or a failure, you are given the classic customary statistics, showing your energy use, weapons, how many kills you made, and so on, plus a computed ranking. As always, getting a better rank is a combination of playing on the harder difficulties and being more efficient in battle. Now, this does make for some great long-term play opportunities in order to master its mechanics and do a better job. The changed mechanics also mean the controls are pretty simplified, primarily using the joystick to fly around and interact, and a few keys for launching your helix charges, accessing the map, and a few other bits and pieces. Joystick controls respond great, they never really got in the way, and it helps immensely as you're battling the hordes threatening Jaralova. As for the sound, the only music on offer is the cover of Strauss's Also sprach Zarathustra used on the title screen. Of course, there's plenty of sound effects covering the traditional assortment of shots, alarms, explosions, and more. All up, those do the job, and for an early C64 release like this, I don't think it's something you can really complain about. Moving on to the visuals, and once again, they certainly do the job. Most of the HUD and UI work here is great, with some neat little touches like the bolts shown on the top and bottom of the display. The sector selection UI is nice as well, with plenty of detail, though honestly, I think the animation for it appearing and disappearing is a little too slow for my liking. Artistically, I'm not quite a fan of the sprites which are used for the various enemy craft, but this is one of those details which has to be limited by the hardware, so honestly I think it's something which can be accepted. When it comes down to it, Sentinel is certainly a fine example of a take on the formula popularised by Star Raiders. There's plenty of challenge to it, and some nice additional mechanics. Sure, some of the challenge of it really comes from overwhelming numbers of enemies, and the way things are handled means that the endgame can be quite slow in comparison. But you know something? I think it's still quite a solid experience to enjoy. I don't think it offers a great amount of long-term enjoyment, but what is here is fun enough to come back to from time to time. Funnily enough, it's a release which seems easier to come by in its US Gold European release. At least, that's been my experience when searching around online. Despite that, it's certainly worth digging up and giving it a go. You may only play it every now and then, but it's quite the engaging experience when you do, for sure. And with that, it's the end of yet another Beyond the Scanlines. If you appreciated this look back and an interesting gem, consider leaving a thumbs up on the video. Got some thoughts about it? Then why not drop me a comment and let's chat. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and yes, ringing the bell so you can be notified the moment new videos are uploaded. Finally, and probably most importantly, thank you for taking the time out of your day to enjoy the video.